Hey everybody, it's the Wet Rats. I'm David,
I'm Dylan.
and welcome to our new show. It's called "What Is the Best." In this show, we're going to take something out of a certain topic range and discuss what our favorite thing off of that list is. That was a really bad way to word that, but there you go. In this case, we're doing Legend of Zelda games. We've played a lot of them. We're both big fans of them, but there's got to be one that stands above the rest. Now, just to be fair, I want to say the games that you and I have both beat, Dylan, because there's a few we've never beaten. We've played them, but maybe we've never got a chance to beat them. So it wouldn't be fair to include them on our list. But if anybody happens to watch this and thinks, "Oh, that's weird that they left that out or didn't talk about it at all," it's because we haven't really played it much. So I have played and beaten Link's Awakening, both Oracle games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds. Uh, is that it? I think that's all of them. Dylan?
Wow, your list like totally kicks my list ass. I have pretty much played every single one, but I have only beaten Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and count Skyward Sword because I played a good part of it, got really bored of it, and then watched my roommate play all of it.
Okay.
So I mean, I technically saw the whole thing, and it's still pretty. It's all right, but
Yeah.
I don't know the Wii controls I just cannot stand.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So those are the big.
that's not the one you're picking to represent. So.
No, it's not. And I've never really got to the handheld Zelda, so I haven't really played actually many of like the Ocarina or the Oracles or any of those. I never really played those.
Handheld Zelda was the first Zelda I played. Link's Awakening was the very first
Yes,
one.
that
I
was
had.
the first one I played. Yes, I never beat that one.
Yeah.
I was really young then.
I spent like 4 years trying to beat that game because I was a kid and I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Um,
See, I had the downfall of I had an older brother, so it was either try and struggle beat this game or just watch my brother beat this game.
yeah.
And
I hear you.
more of the time was just watch my brother.
I got really out of the portable games when they had the DS ones come out, Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
some of the only
so,
Zelda games I've never played and actually have zero interest in playing.
Yeah, I probably never touched those. I do have the current one I haven't beat yet though, but that one's so much fun. I need to get to doing that.
Yeah, I beat that one really fast. Link Between the Worlds, great game.
Well, yes, it's really fun.
But anyways, so that just gives you guys an example what we've played, what we kind of like. But what's the best? What do we pick above all the others? Now, to be fair, obviously it goes without saying, all the Zelda games are great. There really isn't any that suck or are bad or anything. So picking a favorite is not saying it's that much above all the rest. It's just kind of personal preference stuff. But we're going to kind of discuss and get into what we personally like the most about our respective games. So, Dylan, you want to go ahead and throw yours out there?
Yep. For mine, I am picking Twilight Princess. I think it was one of the most enjoyable times I ever had playing a Zelda game, and I feel like it has the perfect combination of the Link everybody likes, like the way he looks, and kind of like a more dark and edgy story of Zelda, which I think a lot more people enjoy rather than kind of the happy-go-lucky kind of Zeldas.
That brings me to my favorite, which is a little bit more of a traditional pick, I think. I'm going to go with Ocarina of Time. Twilight Princess is a great pick. I definitely agree with it being really up there on the list. But for me, Ocarina of Time is just, it's so classic.
Yeah.
Every other Zelda game has a lot of good stuff going for it, but when I think about Zelda, I think about Ocarina of Time. The music from it, the setting, the way it looked, and granted the graphics don't really hold up, but you could still picture every location in that game. And even ones that maybe I enjoyed some of the stuff more, I can't remember the locations nearly as good as that game. The atmosphere and world stick with me so much that if I ever think about Zelda, that's my go-to. So that one just, I don't know, it really resonated with me, I think, more than a lot of them.
I think it almost like even I mean I think it's fair to say it pretty much set the new standard for the Zelda games of like when a Zelda game comes out, that's the game people will compare it to. Is does this match up with like kind of the same new standard of Ocarina of Time, like the same kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely. And even beyond, definitely for Zelda, but even beyond Zelda, a lot of video games. Any video game that's similar is now compared to Zelda, and that's mostly because of Ocarina of Time. Granted, Zelda was a huge franchise before that, but Ocarina of Time, of course, brought it into the 3D realm and really defined what a 3D adventure action game could be like. Before that, we'd never seen anything like it on that scale.
Uh,
Go ahead.
that being said, I feel like that's where Twilight really comes into shine because I feel like Twilight was really the next step of the Zelda games everybody was wanting. it was everybody was like, okay, you know, Ocarina was great, you know, Majora's Mask was fun, but we really want that next adult Link, fun big scale adventure game on the console. I really think that, you know, Twilight Princess was that next big step for them. They're like, all right, cool, you guys, this is what you wanted. We're gonna finally give it to you because, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but they used to. They have, one of the concepts for the next like game was like a really dark, edgy photo of Link fighting Ganon, and that's what everybody thought was the next game. And then all of a sudden they come out with um, Wind Waker, which you know I've never played, so I can't say it's a bad game, but you know it wasn't what people were wanting. And then I feel like Skyward Sword was, or not Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess was like, all right, this is what you wanted, here it is, you know, and it was amazing.
Real quick, just on that kind of side note, I think it's really funny because I've played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, beat them both, love them both. But it's really funny to me because you're totally right. Everybody wanted that darker Zelda. Wind Waker came out, a lot of people complained, a lot of people weren't ready for that. Twilight Princess got
Yeah.
announced, everybody was excited. I feel like now that time has passed, everybody loves Wind Waker and talks about it all the time. And
Oh,
we had the
absolutely.
HD remake, and a lot of people don't really care about Twilight Princess. It's like
No.
they gave you what you wanted,
Wanted,
but
yeah,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
that you supposedly, the Link you didn't like and didn't want, that's the one that has stood the test of
Oh,
time.
yeah, and I know people that like that. I just don't get it. I'll absolutely say I was one of the people who immediately jumped on the bandwagon of I don't want to play Wind Waker. I refused to play it because I did that wasn't the style I wanted. Now being older, I can fully appreciate the art style, but it hasn't really affected my opinion of how I feel about Twilight Princess. Really, I still feel like it holds up to being one of the best.
Yeah, it's funny that we both picked Twilight Princess Ocarina of Time because to me, a lot of what I enjoyed about Twilight Princess was because I'd played Ocarina of Time. Because of course it's set in Hyrule
Yeah,
again. You're back in the same world. There's a lot different, but a lot of the locations you visit are the same or at least very similar. So I think it kind of they work together as
yeah.
pieces of the puzzle because you're going there and you're seeing, oh, this is like Helia now in this era, and you remember what it was like in the other one, and it's kind of a back and forth balance between the two.
And I felt like it control wise. Oh, there's an important question. Did you play Twilight on the GameCube or Wii?
I played it on the Wii, never played the GameCube version.
Same here. I actually own the GameCube version, but I haven't played it on there yet. Um, but I felt like it was the perfect balance of it felt like you were kind of controlling your sword, but at the same time, not the annoyingest of like because I felt like with Skyward, I kind of got annoyed with it sometimes because it was almost too accurate where he wasn't doing what I was wanting. I feel like this is the perfect balance of make it feel like I'm sword fighting, but at the same time, still being like, hey, you're screwing that up. We'll just do it for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like I did enjoy Skyward Sword, but overall I was disappointed with it. I feel
Yeah,
like the difference in controls between those games was Twilight Princess. They said we're gonna make it control like a normal Zelda game, and as a bonus, here's some Wii stuff thrown in, some Wii
yeah,
control motion stuff thrown in. Skyward Sword was from the ground up. We are designing all the controls to utilize motion control, and that was the entire system for the game. And yeah, I think it worked better as kind of like a bonus that it
yeah.
enhanced the sword play and aiming rather than something that you had to do and that was so heavily built into the system.
I think they both have Ocarina and Twilight together. Both have amazing starts to the game because I feel like a start to a Zelda game can either is a make or break point. It can either be really boring and you're just like I'm gonna get the action already, or it can be really kind of fun. And I felt like for both those, it kind of gives you a way of getting familiar with your starting area, the people around you, in the story, but while at the same time teaching you how to play the game. Without kind of being like, hey, here's a really really boring tutorial. Because for me, I hate to keep throwing Skyward Sword under the bus, but to me, I felt like Skyward Sword was like a 2 hour tutorial that I just was ready to be done with. Whereas these other ones, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of progressing the story. I feel like, but also at the same time, I'm learning how to play this game.
I totally agree. I'm glad you said Skyward Sword. I wanted to die at the beginning of Skyward Sword.
Yes, me
Horrible
too.
beginning to the game. Again, I enjoyed Skyward Sword. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought overall it turned out pretty good, but I don't know how anybody could like that beginning. I said this when I was playing it a lot. If that wasn't a Zelda game, if I hadn't played Zelda games and wasn't dedicated to play this one, I would have given up on that game immediately. The
Yeah,
story at the beginning
absolutely.
is slow and boring, and you're not doing anything fun or exciting or Zelda
Yeah.
esque. Horrible. But yeah, Twilight Princess has a really good opening. It's slow to start, but it's interesting. It's a different take on it. Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time has a really great opening where the world has a lot of mystery in it. Twilight
Yeah.
Princess is really cool, but it's not so much mysterious as kind of just
No, not
introducing you to
really.
everything. Um, me and you both really enjoy Majora's Mask as well.
Correct.
As far as beginnings to games, that's one that I think that's why people hate that game so much is the beginning. So you're right. I think that's very important to Zelda games because I think people boot that game up, they want to give it a chance, but immediately you're stuck in a 3 day cycle and
Yeah.
you don't have the freedom at first to go back and forth and manipulate time. You're stuck not even as Link, but as a scrub, as a bush version of Link.
Yeah.
I think that just turns a lot of people off because that's how it
Definitely.
forces you to play the game. And for the first couple hours, that's your only
Yep.
option.
You're that. You're not even really technically playing Link. You're just playing this plant you don't want to be.
Yeah, I
So I
think
mean, it
people who
turns
stick
people
with
off.
that game and get past that and start to gain control and learn the system, I think are the people who end up loving
Oh
the
yeah.
game because it's very rewarding. But yeah, I think that's why so many people give up on it. And I understand. I mean, I almost did the same thing with Skyward Sword. Uh, and
Oh yeah. It was a real chore to make it past the beginning of that game. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. So one thing to note, I guess you said you haven't really played as many 2D Zelda games, but we didn't pick any. Zelda games started out 2D with the original,
That's true.
the second, and then A Link to the Past. So what do you think it is about the 3D ones that really makes them stand above the portable, or not necessarily portable, but the 2 dimensional top down?
You know, this is gonna sound. Mine's not really much of a deep kind of answer. More or less for me is I particularly really like graphics, and I like when I play someone, I like to feel like that person's a badass. And when I play like 3D adult Link, like I feel like I am like the hero of whatever I'm supposed to be the hero of. Or I feel like the 2D they always have super fun game mechanics and they're good games, but I kind of have a hard time feeling like I am like the true hero of whatever because I feel like I'm just this little 2D sprite that doesn't really like doesn't look like he'd pack much of a punch behind him. If that makes sense, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree. I think for me, I like the 2D ones a lot, and again, that was where I started Link's Awakening and you too. But the reason I love Ocarina of Time so much and it sticks with me so well is like moments in that game. When I played Link's Awakening, I'd never played a game like it. I really liked it. I hadn't played any Zelda games, so it was a big eye opener for me. But nothing beat Ocarina of Time walking into Hyrule Field for the first time, and it's
Yeah,
huge.
that's
By
the
today's
point I was gonna make.
standards,
Yeah,
not a very big field. Not really. It's empty. There's nothing really to explore in it. But as an 8-year-old kid who'd never seen a 3D game, really that
hmm
except for a couple, just this massive open field. You can go explore anywhere you want. You can find little secrets in it. That that changed my life. Like I'll never forget seeing that, and I've never had that in one of the 2D ones. You can't have
yeah.
that.
See,
You're on your little
that's
screen.
exactly. It's like you actually feel like you're exploring this world that you're in. Like you actually get to see every detail of it. Where the 2D ones not so much, but like for all the 2D ones, like Majora's Mask and Skyward and all those. Even if Skyward it wasn't great, there's all these really big, huge worlds you can explore. Like there's a lot there that you wouldn't really get out of a 2D.
I think another big part of it too is not just sense of scale with the world, but sense of scale with enemies. One of the best
Hmm.
things about Zelda games has always been boss battles. They're really interesting.
Great.
They're fun. Playing a boss battle on a 3D Zelda game is a wholly different experience from a 2 dimensional. Two
Yes.
dimensional, yeah, they're bigger than you. They look tough, whatever. But seeing something like um, Bongo Bongo in Ocarina of Time, stupid name, but you drop down on these giant drums and there's this massive monster just beating away at you. Or like in,
Yeah.
in that game, you also fight a huge dragon that's flying around and popping out of holes and stuff.
Yeah.
Moments like that you could never have in a 2 dimensional game on
Yeah.
the same level.
It kind of breaks it from the over the it's called over the top, right?
Top down.
Top down. Sorry, it's from the top down view where you're essentially dodging things thrown at you, and then that's how you beat them. They're actually having like there's different like an actual combat almost with the thing instead of like all right, well I'm not just dodging this and dodging this. There's things coming at me that I have to look at all different perspectives rather than just like all right. He's throwing a fireball at me. Go up and then dodge it, then go attack him. It's brings a whole new element to the fights and a whole new kind of element to it that you wouldn't really get from a 2D.
Yeah, it brings a whole new dimension because it's in
A whole new dimension,
because
one might say.
because
Yeah,
it's 3D. Get it? Did you,
3D
did you get it,
dimension.
guys? Okay, so we're getting to a point we can kind of start wrapping this up. Twilight Princess is your favorite game. What stands out to you the absolute most about Twilight Princess? What do you, if you think about that game and you think that's my favorite, what is the biggest thing that you just think, yeah, that's the biggest reason. That's why I love that game. That particular thing.
Um, I really enjoyed playing the story throughout the entire game for sure. But I think one of the biggest things of like why it always set with me is kind of the same reason you get with the first time you play Ocarina of Time. It's kind of this first fresh, exciting experience to you. You have this moment where you're just like you just love that moment you feel. And for me, it was with spoiler alert at the end of Twilight Princess when you find out you have to fight Ganon. Like that just was like didn't see it coming. It was like amazing, and like we were saying before, probably the best fight you ever fight with Ganon ever. It is like awesome, just such an amazing boss fight. That I mean, just the ending on that. Just after beating, I was like, dude, wow, that blew my mind.
Yeah, I agree. And even though I'm not picking it as my favorite, I do think Twilight Princess, hands down, has the best story. The storytelling in that game is incredible. The
Yes.
cutscenes are great. It's really cinematic. It's really well done. And yeah, the reveal at the end of Ganon is great. Um, and I do love that final boss battle because it's first you fight Ganon in a couple different waves, and it's
Hmm.
whatever, fight Ganon. But the final battle with Ganondorf,
Yeah.
I love it because it's not you're in a big castle and you're doing all this stuff. It is just two dudes in a field sword fighting, and not even like crazy elegant like Star Wars Phantom Menace stuff. It's
Yeah.
just wailing on each other.
Yeah. Straight with wailing on each other.
Fantastic fight.
So good. That's amazing. It just
Um,
blows my mind.
yeah. If I have to pick something like that for Ocarina of Time, to me, just the thing that really brings it home the most. I'm putting myself on the spot because I'm not sure if I have something. Uh, I guess just that sense of exploration. And again, by today's standards, it doesn't really hold up as much. There's games that are much bigger, true sandbox games. But I always remember that feeling of just knowing that I could go wherever I want and explore. Maybe there's a path blocked off, but I'll get there eventually, knowing that everything is waiting for me to find it and learn
Mhm.
about it and uncover its secrets. Again, I'd played a Zelda game before, but it was not on that level. It was not on that scale. And just being able to see this 3D space and knowing it was like a portrait that I was free to explore and paint for myself, that's a feeling I'll never forget. And Zelda games have done it since, but I always will remember the first time I did it.
Exactly. It's your first time, dude. Always the first time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna kind of wrap this up. Dylan, you got any final thoughts?
No.
All right. Um, I have one final thought. We totally forgot the CDI Zelda games. We didn't even give them a
Mm,
mention.
crap.
Wind of Gamelon, or is it Wand of Gamelon? One of
Wanda
those
Gamelon.
things. And there's another one, right? Isn't there two?
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, the other one. What's the other one called? Ganon's bad.
Ganon's Revenge.
Yeah, those are the best. Yeah, real quick, I got another thing we can throw on here real quick. Uh, what do you hope for in the next Zelda game? It's gonna come before too long. I know we just got a new two-dimensional one with Link Between
This
Worlds.
actually brings into something I was going to talk about and totally forgot to talk about. So forever I feel like they've been talking about, hey, we want Zelda, we want to break the dungeon theme of Zelda. We want to be like, don't you feel like you're in dungeons? You're like in this big world, kind of like breaking past that. I don't know about you, but when I was playing Skyward Sword, I felt like I was playing dungeons.
Yeah,
You didn't really convey it that well.
yeah.
Which is ironic.
Real quick, yeah, because they said that they when they announced that game, they said no dungeons, none.
No dungeons.
Yeah, I totally felt like there was dungeons.
I felt like I was in a dungeon, which is funny because I thought that when I played Twilight Princess, I felt like it broke the dungeon thing more than Skyward Sword did, at least, Because there's a lot of stuff you do on the outside of, like, not necessarily a dungeon. Like, you can kind of call the mansion a dungeon, but more or less it feels like you're just in a really big building kind of doing something,
Yeah, yeah.
And not much of a dungeon. But it's still, I'm absolutely dungeon, but, like, not so much. I would like to see them actually fulfill the promises of being, this is the biggest world of Zelda we've ever done, and it really breaks the whole kind of feel of when you're dungeon crawling kind of thing.
I definitely agree with. I hope that it's the biggest Zelda. Uh, one thing that I had against Skyward Sword is I liked the world, I liked the look of things, but that game it tricks you into thinking there's a lot more to see and explore than there is. Especially Skyloft, you can fly around on your big sky loft bird. But there's really nothing to fly around and see. There's little islands, but they don't mean anything. It was kind of like Wind Waker in that way, where it feels like there's this big world to go and explore and kind of free roam, but there's nothing really worth finding. I would really love. I don't want a full sandbox free roaming, on the
Yeah,
scale of
no,
like
absolutely not.
Skyrim or anything. It doesn't need to be that, but I would love something that is a little bit more open. Again, yeah, I agree. Doesn't necessarily have the dungeons. It's more just like finding these areas that kind of exist and not having to dive deep into them and kind of dungeon crawl, but just finding these ruins or whatever.
Or even like side places you don't have to necessarily go, but you get rewarded if you do that.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very much Zelda Fear very much feels like go to point A to point B to kind of thing. It'd be cool to be like, hey, you can DV off and do this kind of side area you found to get something, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, I totally agree. Zelda's always been a pretty linear series, despite the fact that it is in a pretty open world. But I love the side stuff. That's one of the reasons Majora's Mask is I love it so much. That game is almost entirely side stuff. That's another reason I think a lot of people don't connect with it as much. The main story isn't too long, but if you want to explore all the side stuff, basically finding all the masks, every mask is basically a side quest, and there's like 50 masks at 40 or 50, and some of them are just talk to this guy, here's a mask. Some of them are super long and elaborate, and you have to do them over the entire period. I love that. And then the masks, they actually do stuff. It's not just you don't. It's not just that you get to do a fun or interesting quest. But then you get a reward that may be really useful to you in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, that was whereas like Ocarina of Time opened me up to starting to be interested in free roaming games. Majora's Mask interests me in like getting into side quests and exploring every nook and cranny of a game, and looking for all that extra content that was thrown in. And I was always really bummed when. Especially, I love Twilight Princess, definitely one of my favorites. But Twilight Princess didn't really have anything like that.
No,
There's really only one side quest to get armor, but then the armor just drains all your rupees.
So it doesn't really do much at all.
Yeah, it's basically useless. And that bummed me out, because even in Ocarina of Time, there's a side quest to get an item, but you get a massive, big Goron sword. And it's useful. It doesn't drain your money.
No.
So... And yeah, I don't even remember, did Skyward Sword even have... I mean, it had some kind of side quest stuff, but as far as like
there's
getting a big item or anything...
You kind of just build up... You can collect stuff and build onto your items, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, you and me are hardcore Zelda fans, but I don't know about you, I've never really been into the whole, like, collect everything. Like, find all the bugs, or find all the gold skeleton...
Yeah, that's more of a completionist thing, and I've never really been much of a completionist.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. All right, so I guess we already did our final thought thing. So I guess, Nintendo, watch this video. You just heard what you need to do to make the next Zelda game. Do it.
Just send the paycheck in the mail whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely get some credit for that. You don't even do a paycheck. Just make sure that when the credits roll, just our names are in the credits. I don't care who worked on the game. Just credits, David Dillon.
Well, don't just do like straight up like credits and then David Dillon. Do like every single position, like all the jobs, but just have it alternate between like David Dillon, just all the way through.
Okay.
So full length like 10-minute credits of like all their like editor, and everything like that, but just have it be like David Dillon.
Okay.
Just do that.
Or yeah, we could do that. Or it could just be. Should we do David Dillon or should we do the Wet Rats? Because.
Oh yeah, just the Wet Rats all the way through.
Yeah.
All the way through.
And then, but just Wet Rats it alternates between English and Japanese.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom. There you go, Nintendo. Jot that down when you're making Legend of Zelda. What's the next one going to be called?
Legend of Zelda.
Magic Beans.
Yeah.
That's an item in the games. It's just a game where you find them this time. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Later, bros.